Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Text 10. Yena havava kalau manujapasada deva maya mohita swavidhi.
Yena pavakalo manujapasada maya mohita swavidhi.
Niyoga shaucha charitra vihina deva helanani apavrittani nija.
Niyoga shocha charitra vihina deva helanani apavratani nija.
Nijechaya grahanana asnana na chamana shaucha klesho lunchanadini.
Nijachayagra nana asnana nacham manas shocha kesho lunchanadini.
Kali na dharma bahule no pahata diyo brahma brahmana yagya.
Kalina dharma bahuleno pahata diyo brahma brahmana yagya.
Purusha loka vidu shaka prayena bhavishyanti.
Purusha loka vidu sakha prayen vyasyanti.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. People who are lowest among men and bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord will give up the original Varnashrama Dharma and its rules and regulations. They will abandon bathing 3 times daily and worshipping the Lord. Abandoning cleanliness and neglecting the Supreme Lord, they will accept nonsensical principles. Not regularly bathing, washing their mouths regularly, they will always remain unclean. And they will pluck out their hair. Following a concocted religion, they will flourish. During this age of Kali, people are more inclined to irreligious systems. Consequently, these people will naturally deride Vedic authority, the followers of Vedic authority, the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees. Presently, the hippies in the Western countries fit this description. They are irresponsible and unregulated, they do not bathe, and they deride standard Vedic knowledge. They concoct new lifestyles and religions. There are many hippie groups at the present moment, but they all originated from King Arhat, who imitated the activities of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, who was situated on the Paramhamsa stage. King Arhat did not care for the fact that although Lord Ṛṣabhadeva acted like a madman, his stool and urine were nonetheless aromatic, so much so that they nicely scented the countryside for miles around. The followers of King Arhat went under the name Jains, and they were later followed by many others, particularly by the hippies, who are more or less offshoots of Mayavad philosophy, because they think themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such people do not respect the real followers of Vedic principles, the ideal Brahmanas, nor do they have respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. Due to the influence of this age of Kali, they are apt to concoct false religious systems. So this is a influence of the Kali Yuga, and we can see it's true. There's so many different types of religions sprouting up. Everyone wants to create a new religious system, but very few actually accept the Vedic authority, the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the authority of the bona fide representatives of God. And everybody is concocting new ideas and getting many followers. with that. Any comments? Questions? Okay. So King Arhat, he misrepresented Lord Ṛṣabhadev's teachings. Techa hi arva tanaya nijaloka yatra yanda param parayashvastas.
Techahi arvatana yanchaloka yatrayantha parampara yashvatas.
Tamasi ande swayam eva prapatishyante.
Tamasi ande swayam eva prapatisyanti.
Low-class people, due to their gross ignorance, introduce a system of religion that deviates from the Vedic principles. Following their own mental concoctions, they automatically fall down into the darkest regions of existence. So Sukadev Goswami is saying this. In this connection, one may see Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, where there is a description of the downfall of the Asuras, 16.16 and 16.23. So just today we were reading in Sri Ṛṣabhadeva that those who mislead others in their spiritual life, their destination is in the darkest regions. Because human life is so rare and so valuable and it's meant for self-realization. If someone misguides others on their spiritual path, means they just have, finally they have one window to get out of the material world. And if someone misuses their faith and misguides them, then the destination is to the darkest regions. But in Kali Yuga, it's becoming more and more. It's because of the influence of the age of Kali that Sukadev Goswami is saying people deviate from Vedic principles. People are creating their own religious principles, which is just a mental concoction. So same, Sri Upanishad says the same thing that Sukadev Goswami said. We can see all the scriptures. They say the same thing. There is no contradiction. Ayam avataro rajaso papluta kevalyo pashikshanarthaha.
Ayam avataro rajo sapita kaivalyo.
In this age of Kali, people are overwhelmed by the modes of passion and ignorance. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva incarnated himself to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. The symptoms of Kali Yuga are predicted in the 12th canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lavanyam Kesha Dharanam. It is predicted how fallen souls will behave. They will keep their hair long and consider themselves very beautiful. Or they will pluck out their hair as the Jains do. They will keep themselves unclean and will not wash their mouths. Jains refer to Lord Ṛṣabhadeva as their original preceptor. If such people are serious followers of Ṛṣabhadeva, they must also take his instructions. In 5th chapter of this canto, Ṛṣabhadeva gave his 100 sons instructions, whereby they could become free from the clutches of Maya. If one actually follows Ṛṣabhadeva, he will certainly be delivered from the clutches of Maya and return home back to Godhead. If one strictly follows the instructions of Ṛṣabhadeva given in the 5th chapter, he will certainly be liberated. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva incarnated specifically to deliver these fallen souls. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva took an incarnation for us. And the followers of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva need to follow the instructions. Prabhupada is saying the instructions are clearly given in the 5th canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And anyone who follows the instructions of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva will get liberated, because he's giving the instructions of how to get liberation. So one just has to follow his instructions and one can get liberated. Tasyanugunan shlokan gayanti.
Tasyanugunan shlokan gayanti.
Okay. Aho bhuva sapta samudravyattya.
Aho bhuva sapta samudravatya.
Dipeshu varsheshu adipunyameta.
Dvipeshu varsheshu adipunyam etat.
Gayanti yatra tyajana murare.
Gayanti yatra tyajana murare.
Karmani bhadrani avata ravanti.
Karmani bhadrani avataravanti.
Learned scholars chant about the transcendental qualities of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva in this way. Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharatvarsh is considered the most pious. People of Bharatvarsh are accustomed to glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnations as Lord Ṛṣabhadeva and others. All these activities are very auspicious for the welfare of humanity. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bharata bhumi te haila manushya janmaya, janma sarthaka kari karapara upakar. As stated in this verse, Bharatvarsh is a most pious land. So Bharatvarsh, what the land called India, is very pious. The followers of Vedic literature understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations, and they are privileged to glorify the Lord by following the directions of Vedic literature. So it's a pious land because people are easily attracted to take up spiritual life. They understand spiritual life easier, they understand the scriptures easier, they are wanting to follow the directions of the scriptures, and they glorify the uh, names and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After realizing the glories of human life, such people should take up the mission to spread the importance of human life throughout the whole world. So Lord Chaitanya said that we should understand the importance of human life and give this knowledge to others. That we should become Krishna conscious and give Krishna consciousness to others. We need to hear and chant and give the hearing and chanting to others. This is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The word Adhipunyam indicates that there are certainly many other pious men throughout the world, but the people of Bharatvarsh are even more pious. Therefore, they are fit to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world for the benefit of all human society. So it's not that there are no pious people in other parts of the world, of course they are, but somehow it's a natural inclination for Indians towards spiritual life, towards Krishna consciousness. Srila Madhvacharya also recognizes the land of Bharatvarsh, Visheshad Bharate Punyam. Throughout the world, there is no question of Bhagavad Bhakti or devotional service. But the people of Bharatvarsh can easily understand the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, every inhabitant of Bharatvarsh can perfect his life by discharging Bhagavad Bhakti and then preaching this cult throughout the world for the benefit of everyone. So we need to study the scriptures, we need to hear, we need to chant, worship the deity, offer prayers, and spread this to others. This is the instruction by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. He's given this instruction to everyone. Aho nuvamsho yashasavadata.
Aho nuvamsho yashasa
Vedatum
Preya vrato yatra puman puranaha.
preya vrato yatra puman purana.
Ritavatara purusha saadyash.
Kritavatara purusha saadyas
Chachara dharmam yadakarma hetum.
chachara dharmam yatakarma hetum.
Oh, what shall I say of the dynasty of Priyavrat, which is pure and very much celebrated? In that dynasty, the Supreme Person, the original personality of Godhead, descended as an incarnation and executed religious principles that could free one from the results of fruitive activity. There are many dynasties in human society wherein the Supreme Lord descends as an incarnation. Lord Krishna appeared in the Yadu dynasty, and Lord Ramachandra appeared in the Ikshvaku or Raghu dynasty. Similarly, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva appeared in the dynasty of King Priyavrat. All these dynasties are very famous, and of them, the dynasty of Priyavrat is most famous. Oh, wow. So the dynasty of Priyavrat is more famous here, Prabhupada is saying. Most famous.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. I used to think, okay, Raghu, this Surya dynasty was really very famous, because Lord Ramachandra appeared in that. The Raghuvanshi, they say, right?
Yeah.
I used to think that's the most famous. But here, Prabhupada is
Everyone
saying
knows.
dynasty of Priyavrat is most famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah, and in fact, like everyone knows about Ramachandra.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's very famous.
yeah, that's why. And Lord Ramachandra, very famous. So, Konva Asya, how does this go? Konva Asya Kashtam Aparo Nugachen.
Onavasya kashtam aparo nugachin
Manorathenapi Abhavasya Yogi.
manorathenapi abhavasya yogi
Yo yogamaya sprahayati udasta.
yo yogamaya sprihatyati udasta
Yasat yayena kritaprayat.
hi asataya yena krita prayatna.
Who is that mystic yogi who can follow the examples of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva even with his mind? Lord Ṛṣabhadeva rejected all kinds of yogic perfection which other yogis hanker to attain. Who is that yogi who can compare to Lord Ṛṣabhadeva? Generally, yogis desire the yogic perfections of anima, lagima, mahima, prakamya, prapti, ishitva, vashitva, and kama vashayita. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, however, never aspired for all these material things. Such siddhis, perfections, are presented by the illusory energy of the Lord. So, the yogi, although he begins his yoga practice because he may be wanting to see the Paramatma, no, to realize the Paramatma. But after he gets these siddhis, he may get distracted and forget that his goal was actually self-realization. And he may get very engrossed with the siddhis, playing around with the siddhis then. But Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, he never, although he had the siddhis, he didn't show it or, display or anything. So these siddhis are also material energy. One may think this siddhis, this mystic magical power is something spiritual. No, this magical power is also material. The real purpose of the yoga system is to achieve the favor and shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But this purpose is covered by the illusory energy of Yoga Maya. So-called yogis are therefore allured by the superficial material perfections of anima, lagima, prapti, and so forth. Consequently, ordinary yogis cannot compare to Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is an incarnation of God. So one cannot imitate him. One just needs to follow his instructions. He's not an ordinary human being. He's an incarnation of the Supreme Lord himself. Did anyone want to add anything or any question? No. Okay, we'll continue reading. Iti hasma sakala veda loka deva brahmana gavam parama gurur.
Tasma sakala veda loka deva brahmana gavam parama guru.
Bhagavata Ṛṣabhadeva Vishuddha Charitam Iritam Pumsam.
Bhagavat Ṛṣabhadeva Vishuddha Charitam Iritam Pumsam.
Samasta Duscharita Biharanam Parma Mahamangalayanam.
Samasta Duscharita Haranam Parama Mahamangalayanam.
Idam Anushraddhayo Pachitayanushrunoti Ashravayati Va Vahito.
Idam Anushraddhaya Yopachitayanush Shnoti Ashradvayati Vavahito.
Bhagavati Tasmin Vasudeva Ekantato Bhaktir Anayor Api Samanuvartate.
Bhagavati Tasmin Vasudeva Ekantato Bhaktir Anayor Api Samanuvartate.
Sukadev Goswami continued, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is the master of all Vedic knowledge, human beings, demigods, cows, and brahmanas. I have already explained his pure transcendental activities, which will vanquish the sinful activities of all living entities. This narration of Lord Ṛṣabhadev's pastimes is the reservoir of all auspicious things. Whoever attentively hears or speaks of them, following in the footsteps of the Acharyas, will certainly attain unalloyed devotional service at the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai. The teachings of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva are for the people of all yugas, Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapara Yug, and especially Kali Yug. These instructions are so powerful that even in this age of Kali Yuga, in this age of Kali, one can attain perfection simply by explaining the instructions, following in the footsteps of the Acharyas, or listening to the instructions with great attention. So this is the special, concession we are getting by the mercy of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, that simply by hearing of his glorious pastimes, his glorious instructions, hearing his instructions or speaking about his instructions as we hear them from the acharyas. Following in the footsteps of the acharyas means understanding them in truth. Listening with great attention, one can get perfection. If one does so, one can attain the platform of pure devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. So kind Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is. He's saying, you just hear my instructions, repeat my instructions, and you can get pure devotional service. The pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees are recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam, so that those who recite these pastimes and listen to them will become purified. So, listening to the pastimes, the Leelas of the Lord, or his incarnations are not some mundane material subject matter. This is transcendental subject matter, and that's how it has the potency to purify our consciousness. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. As a matter of principle, devotees should read, speak, and hear Srimad Bhagavatam persistently, 24 hours daily if possible. That is the recommendation of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. One should either chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or read Srimad Bhagavatam and thereby try to understand the characteristics and instructions of the Supreme Lord, who appeared as Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. So Kirtaniya Sada Hari, Lord Chaitanya is saying, always chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, always chant Srimad Bhagavatam or hear Bhagavatam or read Bhagavatam. It's the same. Hearing, reading is the same. 24 hours a day, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So, maybe a bit difficult for us, but how much ever we can. Regularly. That's the idea. Regularly. Every day. So, in this way, one can become fully aware of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the more we hear, the more we chant, the more our consciousness gets purified. And with the pure consciousness, we can understand God, the transcendental nature of God. Because our consciousness is so dirty now, material, we are not able to understand about God, about his transcendental nature. But the more we hear, more we chant, the more our consciousness will be purified, the more we will be able to understand God. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one who knows the transcendental nature of the Lord's birth and activities attains liberation from material bondage and returns to Godhead. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, just understand, my appearance, my activities are transcendental, they are spiritual, they are not material. Just by understanding this, you can get liberation. No more birth and death in the material world, but can go to the spiritual world. So, Krishna is kind, he's making the process easy for us. Lord Chaitanya said, you don't need to change your position, simply wherever you are, you hear from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and you chant Hare Krishna. And in this way, get self-realized and go back home, back to Godhead. Text 17. Yasyam eva kavaya atmanam aviratam vivida rajina samsar.
Yasyam eva kavaya atmanam aviratam vivita vrajina samsara.
Paritapopattapi tapiyamanam anusavanam snapayantas eva parayam.
Paritapopatapyam manam anusavanam snapayantas paraya.
Nirvritya hi apavargam atyantikam parama purusharthamapi.
Nirvritya hi apavargam atyantikam parama purushastam api.
Swayam asaditam no evadriyante bhagavadiyatveneva.
स्वयम् आसादितं नो एवाद्रियन्ते भगवति यत्वेन परिसमाप्त सर्वा
Parisampata sarvartha.
परिसमाप्त सर्वार्थ.
Devotees always bathe themselves in devotional service in order to be relieved from the various tribulations of material existence. By doing this, the devotees enjoy supreme bliss, and liberation personified comes to serve them. Nonetheless, they do not accept that service, even if it is offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. For the devotees, liberation, mukti, is very unimportant because having attained the Lord's transcendental loving service, they have attained everything desirable and have transcended all material desires. Devotional service unto the Lord is the highest attainment for anyone desiring liberation from the tribulations of material existence. So we are suffering and we want to get out of the material world. So devotional service is the highest desire that one can desire for, even higher than liberation. Because devotional service brings us into the presence of the Lord. There is exchange with the Lord Himself, pure devotional service. So it's even higher than being in the Brahman effulgence, being merging into the Brahman. It's seeing God directly, face to face, and having a relationship with Him. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 6:22, Yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadikam tata. Gaining this, one thinks there is no greater gain. When one attains the service of the Lord, which is non-different from the Lord, one does not desire anything material. So devotional service is not material, it is transcendental. Mukti means relief from material existence. Bilva Mangal Thakur says, Mukti Mukoli Tanjali Sevate Sman. For a devotee, mukti is not a very great achievement. Mukti means being situated in one's constitutional position. The constitutional position of every living being is that of the Lord's servant. Therefore, when a living entity is engaged in the Lord's loving service, he has already attained mukti. Consequently, a devotee does not aspire for mukti, even if it is offered by the Lord Himself. So, Bilva Mangal Thakur is saying that for a devotee, mukti is not very important. Why? Because mukti means understanding I am spirit soul. But one who is engaging in devotional service, he has already understood he is spirit soul. That's why he is engaging in devotional service to God. So he's already liberated. And that's why he's not separately aspiring for liberation. What he wants is personal service of the Lord. And even if the Lord gives him mukti, he's like, no, I want your service. I want to serve you. Because that's higher than just understanding I'm spirit soul. Because what you're going to do, once you know your spirit soul, you still have to do something. We are always eternal. We are eternal. We are going to exist eternally. Our consciousness is always there. Even at the state of liberation, we are conscious. Not that one gets liberated, then one becomes unconscious. One is still conscious when one is liberated. So the pure devotee is aspiring that he wants devotional service to Krishna. He wants to associate with Krishna. Rajan patir kurur alam bhava tam yaduna.
Rajan patir guru alam bhavatam yadunam.
Devam priyakulapati kvacha king karova.
Devam priya kulapati kvacha karova.
Astva evam anga Bhagavan bhajatam mukundo.
Astav evam anga Bhagavan bhajatam mukundo.
Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam.
Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam.
Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, the Supreme Person Mukunda is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasties. He is your spiritual master, worshipable deity, friend, and the director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he worked just as ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him. So here Sukadeva Goswami is saying, while instructing Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami thought it wise to encourage the king, because the king might be thinking of the glorious position of various royal dynasties. Especially glorious is the dynasty of Priyavrat, in which the Supreme Lord Ṛṣabhadeva incarnated. Similarly, the family of Atanapad Maharaj, the father of Maharaj Dhruv, is also glorious due to King Prithu's taking birth in it. So, Priyavrat's dynasty famous because Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. Utanpad dynasty famous because Dhruv Maharaj was there, and King Prithu also took birth in that dynasty. The dynasty of Maharaj Raghu is glorified because Lord Ramachandra appeared in that family. And as far as the Yadu and Kuru dynasties are concerned, they existed simultaneously. But of the two, the Yadu dynasty was more glorious due to the appearance of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit might have been thinking that the Kuru dynasty was not as fortunate as the others, because the Supreme Lord did not appear in that family, neither as Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, or Maharaj Prithu. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was encouraged by Sukadeva Goswami in this particular verse. The Kuru dynasty may be considered more glorious due to the presence of devotees, like the 5 Pandavas, who rendered unalloyed devotional service. So the Pandavas are pure devotees of Krishna. They were rendering personal service to Krishna. Although Lord Krishna did not appear in the Kuru dynasty, he was so obliged to the Pandavas' devotional service that he acted as a maintainer of the family and spiritual master of the Pandavas. So Krishna, we see that any problem the Pandavas happened, Krishna would appear. Krishna was their guide, he was their spiritual master, he was their protector. Although he took birth in the Yadu dynasty, Lord Krishna was more affectionate to the Pandavas. There's so many of his pastimes with the Pandavas. He was taking personal care. By his actions, Lord Krishna proved that he was more inclined to the Kuru dynasty than the Yadu dynasty. Indeed, Lord Krishna, indebted to the Pandavas' devotional service, sometimes acted as their messenger, and he guided them through many dangerous situations. So Krishna becomes indebted to the devotee. He feels obliged to the devotee. So he serves the devotee. Here, feeling obliged by the devotional service of the Pandavas, Krishna becomes like a messenger, like an ordinary servant. You send your messenger boy, oh, take this message and go. Like that. Yudhishthir Maharaj sent the message of peace to Duryodhan by Lord Krishna, through Lord Krishna. And Krishna became Arjuna's chariot driver. He's God himself, but he's becoming a servant of the servant, being obliged by that devotional service. And that's the reason Krishna does not give his devotional service very easily, because he becomes the servant of his devotee. He becomes so obliged to the devotee for their love. So therefore, Maharaj Parikshit should not have been saddened because Lord Krishna did not appear in his family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always inclined toward his pure devotees. And by his action, it is clear that liberation is not very important for the devotees. Lord Krishna easily gives one liberation, but he does not so easily give one the facility to become a devotee. Why the devotee does not care for liberation? He's like, well, if Krishna is not there, what will I do with liberation? He loves Krishna so much, so he wants to always associate with Krishna. For example, we also have so many relationships, and then there may be one particular person we love a lot, and we always want to be with that one. So similarly, the devotee, he loves Krishna, so he always wants to be with Krishna. So, but Krishna gives liberation easily, but he does not give his devotional service so easily. Because Krishna himself gets so indebted to the devotee that he serves the devotee then. Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. Directly or indirectly, it is proved that bhakti yoga is the basis for the supreme relationship with the Supreme Lord. It is far superior to liberation. For a pure devotee of the Lord, mukti is automatically attained. The pure devotee, he is already liberated. He's understood he is not the body, he is the soul. He's understood he has a relationship with God. That's why he's engaging in bhakti. Bhakti is the relationship. It's the exchange of love. When we love someone, then we have an exchange of love. We do something for them, they do something for us. Similarly, the devotee and Krishna. Devotee does something for Krishna, Krishna does something for devotee. There's an exchange of love. Is that okay? Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, so seems not, then we read on. Nityanubhuta Nijalabha Nivritta Trishna
नित्यानुभूता निजलाभ निवृत्त तृष्णा
Shriyasi Atad Rachanaya Chira Supta Buddhe
श्रेयसी अतत रचना यचिर सुप्त बुद्धि
Lokasya Karunaya Bhayam Atmalokam
लोकस्य य करुणाया यम आत्मलोकम
Akhyan Nama Bhagavate Ṛṣabhaya Tasmai.
आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, was fully aware of his true identity. Therefore, he was self-sufficient and he did not desire external gratification. There was no need for him to aspire for success, since he was complete in himself. Those who unnecessarily engage in bodily conceptions and create an atmosphere of materialism are always ignorant of their self-interest. Out of his causeless mercy, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva taught the self's real identity and the goal of life. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the Lord who appeared as Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. This is the summary of this chapter, in which the activities of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva are described. Being the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is complete in himself. We living entities, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, should follow the instructions of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva and become self-sufficient. So just as Krishna left behind instructions in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva has left his instructions behind in this Canto 5, Chapter 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, he's incarnation of God, so he's complete in himself. We, the living entities, we are part and parcel of God. So we should follow his instructions, follow what Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is saying of how to get out of this material world. We should not create unnecessary demands due to the bodily conception. When one is self-realized, he is sufficiently satisfied due to being situated in his original spiritual position. So we think we are going to be satisfied when we enjoy the body, enjoy this material world. But our real satisfaction is going to come when we understand our real identity as part and parcel of God. Because that's our real position, when we understand it, that's when we'll actually be satisfied. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na shochati na kankshati. This is the goal of all living entities. Even though one may be situated within this material world, he can become fully satisfied and devoid of hankering and lamentation simply by following the instructions of the Lord as set forth in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we want to become satisfied, we want to give up our lamentation, our hankering, then we need to follow the instructions of God as He has given us in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is why we are always encouraged to hear and chant and hear and chant. And in this way, we will actually become satisfied and our hankering and lamentation will go away. Satisfaction through self-realization is called Swarupananda. Satisfaction through self-realization. So we do get material satisfaction. We do. That's the reason we are continuing to be in the material world. But that satisfaction is temporary and it takes a lot of effort to get that satisfaction. So we are being advised get this satisfaction by engaging in devotional service, by understanding who we truly are. So satisfaction through self-realization is called Swarup Ananda. Swarup, that's our original form, our own permanent form, the real form. Ananda, bliss, happiness. Happiness, we will feel very happy once we actually understand who we are, when we realize who we are. All the confusion, all the forgetfulness, everything will go away. The conditioned soul, the conditioned soul eternally sleeping in darkness does not understand his self-interest. He simply tries to become happy by making material adjustments, but this is impossible. That's what we do, that maybe let me just change this and I will become happier. Let me change this and I will become happier. Materially, we are trying to make some material changes, but it's not going to completely satisfy our heart. Sure, we will have some sort of happiness, some sort of satisfaction, but not enough to completely satisfy our heart. It is therefore said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. Due to gross ignorance, the conditioned soul does not know that his real self-interest is to take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. We are not able to understand what is our self-interest. We go around trying to tell people to change. You don't do this. This is bad for you. Do like this. This is good for you. Why you're not doing this, why you're doing that. This one is doing like this one. But we are not able to understand that our time is going by in that. Not understand that our time is limited in this body and we need to understand what is our real self-interest. What is it actually that we should be focusing on? Real self-interest is to take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. To try to become happy by adjusting the material atmosphere is a useless endeavor. Indeed, it is impossible. By his personal behavior and instructions, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva enlightened the conditioned soul and showed him how to become self-sufficient in his spiritual identity. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled the activities of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva was saying that get out of this material world. Don't get into this attachments of the material world. And how we can do that is getting attached to the devotee, serve the devotee, by engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. So just wanted to clarify. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's instructions, teachings was based on the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. What has happened is some people are not following his instructions, but just imitating his behavior. And that is what creates disturbance. But if one is a follower of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, what one needs to do is actually follow his instructions. Is that clear? Is that
Yes.
better? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because Lord
So
Ṛṣabhadeva, he's
the
incarnation of
same as
God.
Lord Chaitanya, everyone did. I mean, their instructions were all from the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, based on the Bhagavad Gita, right? Whatever the
Yes.
teachings.
Yes. Yes. That's right. But then people just try to imitate, and then, yeah, even Lord Chaitanya, many people try to imitate and misrepresent the teachings, misinterpret. And this is what Sukadev Goswami is saying, that this is the speciality of the age of Kali. That in Kali Yuga, many are going to do that. So, but we need to hear the instructions as they are spoken by the Lord himself. So Lord Ṛṣabhadev's instructions should be followed. Should.
Yeah, and it's true in Kali Yuga, you find many, right? People imitate things and do something that's not in line with what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So we need to educate ourselves. We need to study Bhagavad Gita, study Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to educate ourselves so that we can educate others. Because Lord Chaitanya is saying it's the duty of everyone who's born in India. And duty of everyone, because this world is also called Bharatvarsh. The whole planet was called Bharatvarsh at one time. So duty of everyone to understand this knowledge and give this knowledge to others. So we'll
The
stop
thing is,
here for the
Shilpa, we are not as versed as you. The way, like, you do it, find it difficult. How can we give this knowledge to others?
You just speak to
We're not
anyone
well
who's willing
versed.
to hear, just find somebody who's willing to hear and talk to them.
No, but we are not like, so well versed. The thing,
Well,
nothing like, yeah, we
it
are not
doesn't matter. It
like
doesn't
this.
matter. Whatever we know, we share. And then when we share, then we will be able to understand more, remember more. It doesn't matter. Even I barely know, I don't know anything much, but we are just reading together. So if possible, you can read with someone, talk to them a little bit, whatever you know, it doesn't matter. Krishna is there in everyone's heart. He's the one who helps. Just attempt to do it. And that attempt is glorious. That Krishna says, oh, one is trying to follow my instruction, trying to take up this mission. That
So
is
Krishna gives the
glorious.
intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. Krishna gives the intelligence, Krishna makes the arrangements, everything he does. Yeah, just attempt. And Krishna is there. And as I'm saying, just the attempt is glorious. If no one is even listening, just the attempt to speak, that is glorious. So you try. I'm sure you'll find somebody or the other. What happens is, because sometimes we feel that, no, this one should listen to me, or this one should listen to me. But they're not interested at all, and then it happened to me. And then the energy is being going in one direction, whereas there are others who are waiting for this knowledge. So just find some, and then there's someone waiting to hear from you. It's just that. Just find them.
Try.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.